Hi, and welcome to Cooking with Kids. I'm Sarah, the Children Youth Services Librarian here at the Spruce Grove Public Library. In this program, you're going to meet my family, my husband Dave, and my kids, Sutherland, Montgomery, Oswald, and Theodora. Cooking with kids can sometimes be a crazy experience, but the memories they make and the hands-on learning that they take away from being involved in food prep and build a foundation for healthy eating habits. So more tips and suggestions for this can be found at Canada's Food Guide online. So enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us again. Today I got the whole crew with me. This is evidently our last episode before Christmas here. So today we're going to make some old-fashioned ginger strips. They're just kind of a different take on ginger snap cookies. You could use them for cutting out shapes into gingerbread men. You could do all sorts of stuff with them. But yeah, we'll just be doing the original recipe with cutting them into strips and stuff today. So first thing we need is a cup and a half of margarine. We just got it started here. We need to soften it. Anybody that's done cookies before, if you've ever had them come out really big and flat, generally that's from over softening the margarine or melting the margarine. So if you leave it a little bit thicker or creamed, then you don't have that problem. They come out kind of nice and fluffy the way they're supposed to. So we got our cup and a half of margarine. Monty, can you crack some eggs into this bowl? And Suddy, can you add 2 cups of sugar into the margarine here?
Yes, sir.
So while they're getting 2 eggs, and he's getting 2 cups of sugar for in there, we're going to get half a cup of molasses. We tend to just use these guys, some standard cooking molasses. If you've ever been in the molasses aisle, there's lots of different kinds. Some a little bit thicker and stronger than others, so I recommend this one because we've had whoopsies before.
Daddy, can I do the molasses?
How about you pour it into the butter, okay? So there's half a cup. You got it here? Just let me set it down. There you go. You can dump it in there. So that's 1? Yep. Keep it going, Theo. Hold it over there. Okay, just a second. Alright, good job, Theo. I'll clean it out. So that's 1/2 of a cup of molasses. We've got 1 cup of sugar in right now. We're going to add a 2nd cup. And Monty just got 2 eggs that look great. And is there any shells in there?
No.
No? Okay. Beautiful. So we got our sugar, molasses, a couple of eggs. And you want to throw that one in too, Sadie? Okay. Now the recipe asks you to cream these together. So you just kind of stir them together. You can use the egg beater here as well. Just dump it in, Sadie. There you go. And then we mix them up. Just wait. Make sure you got all your bits off the bottom. And that's kind of the first chunk there. So we'll put it in our main bowl here, and then we'll add our dry ingredients on top here.
It smells so good. It smells so good.
Yeah, it smells like molasses.
Daddy, I want to do it.
Okay. So we'll set that off to the side for now. We're all done with sugar. So next thing we're going to need in our main dish here is 5 cups of flour. We're going to need 4 teaspoons of baking soda. So just let me get a little bit of the flour in first, Sadie. There's 4 cups. We need 1 more. You can go ahead and put 4 level teaspoons of baking soda in.
And when Sadie is done, can I mix it?
We'll use the beater for that, but yes, you can turn it on.
3.
Okay, and so it calls for 4. We need half a teaspoon of salt. So
Can I do this?
here's our salt. Yep, that's good enough, Sadie. That's 4. Was that 4?
That was
4.
3/4, so the last
Okay, that's fine. Now, Theo, just kind of get about like that in, okay? And you can put it in there.
Okay, did it.
Throw that in. And get 1 more of those, okay? That was about a 1/4 teaspoon. So the other part of gingerbread that gives it its flavors, would be the spices. So you have your molasses, and then you have things like cinnamon. We're going to use some ground ginger, and we're going to use some cloves. So I don't tend to keep too many different types of cloves in my house because you can get ones that are ground up, but for certain recipes you want whole ones.
Can I do that?
So we're going to crush enough to make a teaspoon. So we're going to end up crushing these, and yes, you get to do this for me here in a minute, Theo, but we want them crushed up into a fine powder, okay? Like I said, it's one of those things that I don't use enough of, so I don't keep multiple forms around. So we need a teaspoon of ground cloves, we need a teaspoon of ginger, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. So here's the cinnamon.
Crush. 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 Crush.
Don't smash it, just grind it around, okay? And a teaspoon of ground ginger. Want to put that one in? Alright. Put her in there, said Mr. Ozzy. There we got some ground cloves. Okay, we need a teaspoon of this.
Can I import it? No.
I'll do this one.
I want to. It smells so good.
Does it smell good? It smells like lots of different spices. So what's going to happen next is we're going to stir this just a little bit here to mix up the dry ingredients so they're all spread around. And then we're just going to beat it a little bit. Nice thing too heavy. Just wait, Theo. Once it's mixed up, we're going to divide it into 6 different balls, and then we're going to roll them out into long chunks, so then we can put those on the cookie sheet and bake them in the oven. And then we'll let them cool a little bit afterwards and slice them up, and maybe even put a little icing on them. So.
Icing? Yeah.
All right. So when doing cookies, most egg beaters have different types of mixers. This would be one that you use for something you know is going to be a little more liquidy. So things like cake batter, things like that. Whereas once you get thicker, you're going to want to go to a thicker one, or else that will more than likely break. For this one, we're getting pretty full, we'll put a little topper on. Alright, you ready? Just a little bit. Alright, starting to get mixed up there. So we're just about mixed here. You can mix it by hand.
We can't eat it. Yeah, again.
The biggest thing is don't overmix it.
Too many bad things.
And there's still a few little lumps of flour here, so we'll knead that out by hand. Now, so the batter doesn't stick to your hands, get them nice and wet.
Okay,
As you can see here, it is a nice kind of thick dough that you can roll out and divide up. So next thing we're going to actually need, guys, is we're going to put some flour down here so that we can roll them out nice and thin. Alright, next up is to roll out the cookie dough, put them on the sheets, and cook them in the oven. So best to get the oven started on preheating. Goes to 350 degrees. We're going to get our cookie sheets ready here. With a little bit of margarine, we grease them, or you can spray them, or whatever you want. So it's also important to kind of note what type of cookie sheets you have. You can get steel ones that have Teflon on them, you can get aluminum ones. These ones are aluminum, so they don't tend to burn the bottoms on you, which is always nice, but something to be aware of as the ones that are steel tend to heat up the edges a little bit more, and so you get your edges browning and things a little faster. So those are greased. We'll set them off to the side for now. And then next thing we're going to do is roll out the cookie dough. So we're going to put a little flour down.
Can I roll out something too?
just wait. So we're going to take this and we're actually going to divide it up into 6 pieces.
Can I help do that?
Yeah,
too?
just wait. Here, how about you try to get any little bits out of there and put it in the big bowl. So we need to divide this into 6.
Hey, wait for me.
No, just wait, Theo.
Ozzy is going to do
We're going to
the
do them up in some bowls. Try to make sure they're all about the same size. Here, you can stick around any of them, okay? Okay. So if they're all about even, then they'll all be cooking fairly similar. All right. So we want them to be kind of an elongated oval shape. So I'll just get it started there slightly in a log. Get a rolling pin. And you want them to be about a 1/4 inch thick. So that's our first one. We'll get our second one here. That should be enough there, Ozzy. Put a little flour on the rolling pin so it doesn't get stuck. So we'll put those on the cookie sheets here. So you suggest using a metal spatula. Make sure we get them all off here first before trying to lift. So if you're feeling adventurous, you try to do it with one. If you want to use 2, you can always use 2. Makes life a little simpler. Here, look at Mr. Monty and Ozzy. Steady. Alright. They don't spread out too much, so you don't have to be worried about the size too much. And then just before we put them in the oven here, we tend to put a little bit of, stop that please. We tend to put a little bit of water on top and sprinkle a little bit of sugar. Just kind of gives them a nice little glaze. That being said, we'll also be adding a little bit of icing later, so just depends on how much sugar and stuff you really want to put on. So here we're going to just brush a little bit of water here. And just put it on with a spoon or a brush, whatever. We just put a little bit of water on top. Helps the sugar to stick when we put that on, so it doesn't fall off when they're cooked. And we take just a tiny bit of sugar
and sprinkle it on.
Sprinkle it on.
Can I do some too, Daddy?
You can do some on the next batch we do, okay?
Okay.
Get these ones going though. So that's about it. We'll put these 2 in the oven. Get the flour off the bottom, and yeah, on to the next batch. All right, we just put our first batch in the oven. It's at 350 degrees, and cook time you're looking at, it says 12 to 15 minutes. I usually stay on the low side and then go from there. If you think it needs a little bit more, but while we're waiting on that, we will add some more. I'll do this one and then you can do that one, okay, Sadie? So we do it, roll it out a little bit.
You and me can do it.
A little bit fatter, and realistically we want it mostly long, so.
Yeah, you and me can do the sugar.
Okay, we'll put a little more flour on it. Put any more flour on. Okay, you can do this one, Sadie. Look out, Monty. And mostly longer, okay? Yep, keep going. Nope, not any more wide. Just keep going longer and longer.
Because it's not.
Here, let's put a little more flour on that.
I want to do some
Make sure it's not gonna stick. Oh.
So then it gets nice and
Yep.
long.
And we'll make sure it doesn't go too wide.
And then we take
Yeah.
the sugar.
Yeah, just wait.
Uh-oh, that one broke.
Put that one back just a little bit here. Monty, do you want to do the water?
I want to.
Yeah.
I want to do
Yeah,
something.
you can do a little bit of sugar on it
I want
after,
to
okay?
do Sadie's one.
Daddy's
Yeah,
gonna
that's
start making.
I'm going to do Sadie's one.
You can sprinkle sugar on top.
Monty,
Yeah.
I'm going to do Sadie's one. Monty, put some more water.
So this third batch is actually going to go on our original cookie sheet. You don't have to butter the sheet again because there's enough grease on it that the second batch won't stick. So that's no problem there. A little bit right there, Monty. Yeah, let me get that. Just get those cracks there filled in a little bit,
I want to do
particularly where it fell apart.
I want to do some.
And this stuff sucks it in actually really quick.
I want to
So
do
you
the
need
next
to
water batch.
Get the sugar
I
on.
want
Here.
to do the
How
water.
about you do some sugar? Not too much. Got little sprinkles. Oh, that's lots. I'll do this one. Okay, that's enough, Theo. That's lots. Okay, so we'll set these off to the side, and then we'll prepare for the other ones to be coming out of the oven. So we need some cooling racks. So here we are. We got our first batch out of the oven. We just threw the other ones in. We did them for about 13 to 14 minutes. You let them sit and cool on the cookie sheet for a couple of minutes so they firm up a little bit so it's easier to take them off. And then once they're on a cutting board here, you can just slice them into thick strips. I like to use a cleaver or a bit of a thicker knife just so you don't get your fingers in the hot cookie.
Before the knife.
Okay,
Oh, I did
so
it.
there we have that.
And then it goes on the cutting board.
And then we slide it onto the cooling rack so it can finish cooling.
And then you're done. Then you pretty much just need to ice it.
And once they're all done, then we'll make up a little bit of an icing. And put those on. Here, I'll just put this. So all the cookies have been out for a bit now and cooled down for about half an hour. As you can see, I have no more kids. So they all headed off to go tobogganing. So by the time they get back, they'll be ready for some snacking. So here we got 2 tablespoons of melted margarine. And then we got just straight icing sugar. You need a cup and a half. There's 1 cup. And this is more of a glaze or an icing type thing. Nothing too thick. Half a cup. And we're going to put 2 tablespoons of water in here. You can use milk if you want, but as with most of my recipes, I tend to just go water just because of doing some dairy-free stuff in the house. And so we have our 2 tablespoons of water, we have our 2 tablespoons of melted margarine, and then we got a cup and a half of icing sugar, and then we need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Just stir it together, and then we'll drizzle it on here. I usually just use a spoon. You could always put it in a Ziploc bag and snip off a corner and use it like a little piping bag or something. And yeah, do what you want with it. You can make zigzag patterns or whatever. If you decide to cut these guys out into gingerbread men or things like that, then add just a little more water so it's slightly runnier. Decorate them however you want. You could add a little food coloring if you like different colors. So here's my first one. It sucked. It all kind of blobbed off the spoon, and I wish I could say the kids did it, not me, but they're not here, so I can't really blame them. So I went to my old ways of just throwing it in a Ziploc bag, snip off the corner, and you can make whatever type of patterns you want. Always helps if you make a smaller hole. Alright, we'll go with a smaller icing hole in the bag so it can come out nice and even. Oh, there we go. So much nicer. And they look a lot better when they don't sit next to all the other cookies. Wow, look at that. So put on the icing however you want, zigzag it, put strips, make fancy designs, little dots, but these are old-fashioned ginger strips, and they're kind of the ginger snap kind of cookie that we have been making for a number of years now. So anyways, Merry Christmas and all that good stuff, and hopefully see you guys again in the new year.
Thanks for watching Cooking with Kids, brought to you by the Spruce Grove Public Library. We hope that you enjoyed this recipe and are inspired to try it yourself at home. To celebrate this virtual program, we will be hosting a Kids Kitchen Challenge. We're asking the young chefs of Spruce Grove to send us a photo of them preparing a family favorite recipe or any recipe of your choice. All participants will be entered into the grand prize draw. More details can be found on our library website at sgpl.ca/programs/kitchen-challenge. This was our last video in this current series. We have really loved sharing our food creations with you this season. Stay safe and have fun in the kitchen over the holidays. And it's goodbye from us.